Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Big C and Bigger T podcast.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Travis Johnson, joined the Bigger T of this bunch, joined as always by my man Big C. How you doing, Clint?
Man, I'm good. I don't like change, and this format change is weird.
That's all right. We're gonna see how it works, right?
Yeah, hey, you know what? We're gonna pick it up. We're gonna try it out like a sandwich. Like, I don't like this sandwich. So you throw
That's
that
right.
sandwich.
Hey, if we don't like it, we'll put different meat on it next time. How about you?
Worst case scenario, we go back to the old meat.
That's right. Well, folks, on today's show, we're gonna recap the awesome interview we had last week, Clint.
It was
Fernando Carmona Jr., the soon to be starting left tackle for the Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Great interview. There's lots of stuff we need to unpack from that. We're also going to talk about what we would like to see, who we need to see step up for this football team next year. Who are some people we're watching? Some of them will be obvious answers, some of them will be not so obvious. Okay. So we're going to see who we want to see step up and do some special things for this team to exceed our expectations, because our expectations for most folks aren't real high. And as always, we need you to comment, like, share this bad boy. Please comment, like, share. That gets the all the alphanumeric stuff going in computer land to get this out there to more and more people. And that's what we want to
Get
do.
us in the algorithm.
The algorithm. That's what I was trying to think
Algorithm.
of. Algorithm. That's what we want. So,
Algorithm.
hey, let's go, Sean Michelle. Kick us off, baby.
1, 2, 3, 4. You ever seen a lame man walk? Ever heard a dumb man talk? Ever seen a blind man see? I promise you a change his name. You ever seen a cancer dead? Ever seen all the poor get fed? Ever seen a prisoner set free? I promise you a change his name.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Once again, it's so awesome to be here, Clint. Back in the house after a great week. Well, great week in a lot of ways. Okay, but man, great podcast last week with Fernando Carmona Jr. We're going to talk more about that.
Fantastic.
But there's something I want to address real quick, Clint. A lot of y'all know I live down in Thornton, Arkansas. If you don't know where that is, it's where I'm right next to Fordyce. And
Yeah, you explained to me how close it was.
yeah, I mean
For those of you that are from our hometown, it's like Greenbrier and Spring Hill.
yeah, it's real close. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. Well, they're in the town of Thornton. You cannot buy anything, Clint.
Yeah.
Literally, there is one soft drink vending machine at the car wash.
Not a lot of
and
the
car wash doesn't even work.
Right.
But the vending machine does. Okay. And that's the only thing you can buy in my town. So everyone just goes 5 minutes up the road to Fordyce. Anyway, you know about the shooting that happened at the grocery store in Fordyce last Friday. Devastating for this community. Just affected everybody. And I've only been here 2.5 years. It affected me much less than it did the people that have lived here. I mean, people in my church, we sat and talked, and some of them said, yeah, I've known the shooter since we were kids. Some of them were like, I graduated with his mom. I mean, it's, the victims, they knew them. One of guys in my church had just talked to one of the ladies that's in the hospital now. He had just left the store, and that lady had waited on him, and they stood around and talked for about 5 minutes before he left.
Yeah, that one got to me. Me and you're talking on the phone about it yesterday, about how he had forgotten an item.
Yeah,
and he had gotten a half a mile away from the store, and he's like, "Should I go back?" He's like, "No, I need to go here, and I'll go there."
Yeah.
It is weird about how a small, minute decision like that,
yeah,
I mean, it changed the course of it changed the course of his
Yeah.
life. It just it's chilling. It's and I think, you were telling me about the community leaders and the people that own the grocery store, meeting with the community leaders and how,
Mm.
the town's really rallying together.
Yep. And
Kudos
that's
to the
what I want to say real quick. Like I said, I don't want to harp on this too long, but
yeah.
I'm so proud of this community. They're first of all, the owners of the grocery store, they got a bunch of community leaders together, and because they don't want to, they want to get back going because it's the only grocery store, Clint, within 30
Yeah.
minutes. Literally the only one. I mean, there's a Dollar General, it's next door. So it's been shut down too. The
Yeah.
closest Dollar General is about 10 miles down the road.
Yeah.
And so that's the closest place to get any cold food. But thankfully, people have been sending food. There's a lot of people distributing food to the elderly and people that can't get out of town to get food or can't afford to get out of town. But the people of Fordyce have really and unified, just very unified
Awesome to hear.
across all kinds of lines. I was in a meeting yesterday, and there were faith leaders from every denomination, from every race, from every socioeconomic level. I mean, it was a neat thing to see, and they were all saying the same thing. So anyway, those of y'all that are praying, those of y'all that are giving, I know people from Little Rock and that area are sending food down this way, and they're sending money to the victims and things like that. Thank you so much, and just keep your thoughts, prayers for Fordyce. It's going to be there's a lot to go through, and anyway. That being said, Clint, I have a holy Snikes moment.
Oh no,
Okay.
Travissimo.
This is something that happened to me the other day.
All
I
right.
thought it was pretty humorous. I had a flat tire Saturday. That's not humorous. But
No.
Monday morning I had to go to the tire store, and I'm in the lobby of the tire store and leaning on the counter talking to the lady behind the counter, and the guy working on my truck came in there to ask a question. And it was the first time he had seen me. And he was walking up beside me, and he goes, "Man, I ain't gonna lie." He said, "When I first saw you, I thought you were Jelly Roll."
I
Which
mean, I
makes
see, I see, like you could be Jelly Roll in like a bad Jelly Roll tribute band,
yeah.
like a band called Somebody Save Me. You
The
know,
I could be the Jelly Roll in the Southern Gospel Quartet
right?
version.
Yeah, like yeah. I mean, 100%. Me.
the
Yeah,
one the one that without the tattoos
yeah.
and
Like,
shorter
like
hair.
if somebody said like, "Hey, we're gonna make a Jelly Roll movie,"
I,
and they're like, who's producing it? Is it Warner Brothers? Like, no, it's not Warner Brothers. It's like Jenny Mule Productions or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
And Jenny Mule is actually a real production company owned by Ray McKinnon.
Okay, sure.
That's just me showing off Travis. But
Gotcha. Yeah.
a small production company such as that, um, I could see you playing Jelly Roll on a direct to DVD movie.
Yeah.
Not available for streaming, of course.
No. I mean, like straight to,
Straight to
something.
VHS.
Yeah, like the Pluto channel or something like that. Maybe
Yeah,
something like that.
I mean, it'd be like
Or
it'd
the
be
the
become
Me
a
Network.
become a cult classic like UHF.
Well, I told the guy, I said, "Hey man," said if I had his money, I'd be buying everybody's tires right now.
Yeah. You get tired. You get tired.
Yeah, you get new tires. You get new tires. How about some all terrains for that Buick? So anyway, but then it was funny. The next day, went in because I had to order the tires, so I had to go in the next day to get them. And the guy came in, and I I said, "Jelly Roll's back." He just laughed. And then the lady behind the counter started talking about it. Well, this older lady, she goes, "Wait a second." So she looked up Jelly Roll on her phone and she held it up. She goes, "You do look like him." She said, "Can I take a picture of you? I want to send it to my daughter. She's a big fan." I said, sure. So I did like a pose.
Sign
And
an autograph too. Like,
I
hey,
should have, man. I'm telling you. So
looks
if
like
I
Jelly.
could commit to the face tattoos,
Yeah,
I mean, people made money off Elvis lookalike, so I cannot,
you know,
hey,
100%.
you
So,
know,
Travis, not to completely change the subject, but let's just say something happened. I took a good bump on the head, and I only got, and all I said was like, "Oh, Travisimo," and I talk like that all the time, like Travisimo,
okay, yeah,
Travisimo. Would you cancel the podcast?
yes, yeah,
Okay, I figured you would.
yeah, okay.
Like
All
100%.
right. Well, folks, last week, um, on the last podcast, we had a great opportunity to uh, interview Fernando Carmona Jr., a young man from San Jose State transfer. He's looks like he's going to be the left tackle, folks. And I'm telling you, I said this last week, but when you watch him play, Clint, you got to think, the highlights I saw from San Jose State, you got to think the mean streak of Dan Skipper and Sebastian Tritola. You know how they play just on the edge,
Yeah,
where they're going to get you some penalties every now and then, but you're going to give that up because they're going to
right.
be so aggressive that they're gonna do such a good job blocking for you because they're so aggressive. That's the way that young man plays.
I really no. It was a great, fantastic interview, and there is untapped potential there. Because I don't care, how good and how talented he is. He's only played 3 years of offensive line, Travis.
Yes.
3 years of offensive line. I have probably sadly played more offensive line than
Oh
he has.
yeah, 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 for sure.
And just it is yeah, because he didn't play football to his junior year and he was a tight end. And it just the fact that and that's what we were talking about on the podcast. And one of my favorite stories is like it's kind of like Michael Turner, like if you brought that story and you took it to a major motion studio and said, here's what we're gonna do. Here's the story. He's gonna play tight end. I'm gonna show some videos of him like on Twitter, his highlights, and then some school's gonna be like, we're gonna make him a left tackle.
Yeah.
Like a major D1 school, because San Jose State is not. Those coaches get fired and hired just like the coach
yeah.
see. So those scholarships are precious.
Yep.
So to take a chance on one on that, just it's far fetched, and the kid hit it out the park.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I'm excited to see what he's going to do, and I think the other thing we're going to see from him that I can get from that interview, Clint, is with his personality, just the type of guy he is. He's going to bring a new level of camaraderie into that room.
Yeah.
I mean, because like we interviewed Kudus last year, and Kudus is a great guy too. Okay, and I think when you add guys like that with a great personality, it just builds. And that's one of the things he talked about was how when he first got to Arkansas, the offensive line didn't hang out very much. They said that section of the locker room they didn't really, it wasn't joking around much. It was just kind of just there. And he said
Right.
now they're all like brothers. They hang out, they enjoy each other's company, and that says a lot to me.
Well, to me, always the closer the football team and the closer your position group, the better that position group is.
Mm-hmm.
You can have one or two guys that you're friendly with that maybe not hang out, but for the most part, that group needs to be really close.
Yeah.
I would say, like at Tech, me, Matt Nelson, Jumbo, Todd Matthews. I mean, Seth. I mean, I can go on down the list, but I mean, we were all for the most part really tight. And then you had like one or two guys that you were really, really cool with. Nobody that you completely disliked, but you were really cool with that was kind of right on the outside of that inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a group like that, man, magic can happen because you're close and you hold each other accountable. And so I was excited about the offensive line before that because I mean, for Sam Pittman to watch your college game film and be like, "I want you,"
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because he's had a chance to see what you can do against kind of this ain't going out after high school kids. This
Yeah.
is and offensive line's his wheelhouse, and I think he's going to rebuild that. Now, was there anything that stuck out to you in the interview as far as the play of the offensive line last year that you got out of that?
Well, the biggest thing to me, Clint, and I said it to him, it's one of those things where I wasn't expecting him to necessarily have to answer my question. I just wanted to say it and see what his response was.
Yeah.
But when I said what I've said on here before, I said, here's what I perceived from last year, that the offensive line wasn't lacking in talent as
No.
much as, there was some inexperience involved. But I think the biggest issue was communication between the linemen, between the lineman and the quarterback, and between the players and the coaches, and between some of the coaches. And he was, as I was saying that, Clint, if you watch that,
Nodding his head.
he's nodding his head. And he's saying, now he didn't throw anybody under the bus. Okay. But if I'm going to read between the lines in his answer, I think he senses that was, he wasn't here. Okay. So he didn't live through that, but, and I think since his time here, I would say he agrees with what I was saying very
Well,
much so.
I will say this, and I've never. Sometimes you make choices in hires and fires, and you get it right, and then sometimes you get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you also have to look at employee A and say, how are they going to match with employee B?
Yeah.
And we've heard reports that why am I bringing
Enos and Kennedy.
Cody Kennedy. Like Cody Kennedy didn't know how to coach offensive line for Dan Enos's system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've played football since I was in third grade and went through college football and all that. And and I'm not trying to make more out of my college football experience than what it is. I was a backup. But even I'd never heard the term fit before. They have to work on their fits.
Yeah.
So I think I asked, I'm like, you know, think about it. If somebody with as much experience as I do, to first time hearing it,
Yeah.
it's like it's new. And so you can see Cody Kennedy he didn't know that. It seems like just maybe Enos wasn't a good fit at all, and the offense wasn't a good fit for Cody Kennedy. And I think, I think it showed with the product on the field was like Enos wasn't a good fit, and he wasn't a good fit for Cody Kennedy either.
Now, and once again, I have no inside information here. Okay. This is me guessing. But if I were to guess.
Man, it's a podcast. Say it like it's fact.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what all the political podcasts do, even no matter which side of the fence.
That's right. Yeah. If I were to guess, I would say more than likely it wasn't necessarily that Kennedy couldn't coach his way. I don't think Kennedy wanted to coach his way.
And it very well could have been.
When you're a decent coach, you can learn how to coach to fit whatever, especially at offensive line. You can learn how to coach to fit any blocking scheme.
Yeah.
Especially on that level. You should be aware of a lot of different schemes and be able to convert over pretty quickly as an assistant coach. Or you should be ready to under a different offensive coordinator, because that's going to happen to you. I think there had to be some, I don't want to.
Yeah. And after that podcast that we had last week with the Carmona, I've heavily researched some things. And Echo and Rig, the steakhouse, is definitely going to be somewhere I'll be going when I'm in Vegas.
Okay, yeah.
I may not even have them cook it. Like, it is a butcher shop. Like, you can go in there and buy steak, Travis.
Really?
I may be going in there to buy me a porterhouse or something and take it back to the house, the Airbnb, and and grill that bad boy myself.
There you go.
So yeah, no, I was just saying that. One of the other things that he said in that interview that I really took away, it gave me a lot of hope, was, like when I asked him at what point did Taylor Green win the starting quarterback job amongst the boys?
Yeah.
Like, because that's one thing. Because I mean, I've Arkansas Tech, I've been through a quarterback battle, and I've been through this. This is the guy that's coming back, and and I've seen it go good. I've seen it go bad.
Yeah.
So I've been through it. For the guy to go, for the offensive line to be like, all right, this is their guy. This is the guy we're going to war with. I mean, the guy's got to win the team, and your good teams, the quarterback has to have the team.
The thing that stuck out with me about that he said was every time he sees him, he's with somebody else.
And he had won he had done it. Like, he had won the job before the season had started.
Yeah. For the spring.
Yeah. In the spring. And it was supposed to be a competition. And then, you got to feel like maybe like Jacoby felt slighted a little bit, that he came in and just took it. But your good quarterbacks are going to step on some feet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's why the portal exists. But
I love the fact that he's always with somebody else.
Right.
Because that shows he's taking time to get to know his teammates. He's getting to know he's earning their respect. And he cares about them. Every one of them is going to know him personally. Because let's be honest, one of the things we heard about KJ was in the offseason, KJ went off to California and he wasn't throwing with his receivers. He wasn't hanging out with the rest of the team. Okay. Now, when they would talk about him, they would talk about what a gamer he was and how he was a leader out there on the field, especially by his play. That was the leadership they talked about him in the huddle and on the field. You never heard players talk about him in the locker room as much as you're hearing about Taylor Green.
I'm going to diss it. You know how big of a KJ Jefferson fan I am.
Yeah.
I think as far as talent goes, he's one of the best
in
the country. He's probably, honestly, will be more talented than Taylor Green, if I'm just going to be honest with you. I think NIL money changed KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
I think the KJ Jefferson that beat Texas was not the same quarterback that played the last 2 years at Arkansas.
Yeah. And when I talk about him like that, I'm talking about last year's KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, no, and I'm just,
I'm really not even talking about the year before necessarily. I'm talking about last year.
He played hurt the year before, and he was their best option.
Yeah.
If they had a decent back quarterback, they'd have probably won a couple more football games, but they didn't.
But I think he had. I think I think it was a perfect storm of a lot of things. I think with the new coordinator, the system, he didn't like it. Kennedy didn't like it. Who knows if the other coaches didn't like it?
Yeah.
That made a difference. So anyway, but yeah, and anything else from the Carmona interview that jumped out to you?
No, I mean, definitely. My mind's on steak now, Travis. But
yeah.
No, I did. He was fun, easy to talk to. Personable guy. You loved hearing how close they all were. Like I saw two things I'm thinking of that I'm going to bring up. Was I saw an interview, like a little clip it on social media, and they were all having. Kudus was there, Kimona was there. They're all there. A bunch of them. Even Jason Street was there. I'm brain farting his name. He's one of the walk-ons.
Jason Street from
well, not Friday Night Lights, but I'm thinking.
Yeah, I
know. So I said Jason, so that's going to be on his. But no, you could tell that they're a close group. And I remember seeing, and you're talking about he's always with somebody, and I saw a video of Taylor Green and Ledbetter, Austin Ledbetter, friend of the show, at a baseball game together. watching the Hogs. So
Oh yeah.
so he's hanging out, probably mentoring the backups a little bit too. So I am I think this team, I think they're going to surprise some people. I really do. I see. I mean, we'll make positions later, but I mean, I would be shocked if they weren't bowl eligible.
Yeah.
and that, and that, when I asked him that tough question too, about the bowl game, it's like, because he was one of those that had to make that choice.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was like, look, and I think I asked it in a fair way, because look, you've been put in this position where you have to make this decision. You do it. I don't know if it's.
And for those of y'all who hadn't heard the interview, when he was at San Jose State, he was deciding to transfer, and he had to decide whether to go ahead and step out of the football team or go play in a bowl game in Hawaii, after his family had already bought plane tickets to Hawaii. And he chose to step out. And I thought it was neat, Clint, when you asked that, to hear it from his side. Because most of the time we critique the players and say, oh, they left their teammates out to dry. They're not a good teammate, all those different things. But you forget that those guys are getting pressure from all those coaches to come visit. They got to find somewhere to live. They got to figure out what school they're going to go to. They got to register for classes, figure out if their major is going to transfer, make sure all their classes are going to transfer. Yeah. They got to do a lot of stuff. And like he mentioned, some schools are on trimesters. Some of them are block schedule type deal. Some of them are on the 2-semester normal program. So, you got a lot of things for him to think about. And it's really unfair. It'd be unfair to his team because he wouldn't be focused on that bowl game. He'd be focused on trying to get to his next school. And so that opened my eyes a little bit of kind of to see it from his.
Yeah, I wanted to get it from the player's point of view.
Yeah.
Because we get it from we get it from the fans' point of view. It was like I told him, I said the Independence Bowl, I meant the Liberty Bowl on the podcast, but yeah, I was at the Independence Bowl when it was pretty much KJ Jefferson and the backups versus Kansas.
Yeah.
And then because Rocket got hurt early on, had I remember Santanga got it,
that was the Liberty Bowl, wasn't it?
That's the Liberty Bowl. But Arkansas, like the year before, Arkansas had everybody back except for the defensive end that transferred from Missouri and Traylon.
Yeah, because we beat Penn State, who had lost everybody.
So it's like the bowl system's just it's the 12-team playoff. I think will help, and I don't know what.
Well, it's going to hurt the bowls even worse, but it's going to help.
Well, you're going to
help as far
as 12 teams that have their whole team instead of.
You're going to have more good games. Yeah.
You'll have more good games. It'll just add. It's just I think they need to bump it up to 16 and just be done with it and get rid of the bowl system.
Yeah.
I know they want you to ask, but it's not.
I still think my idea of do 16-team playoff, like you said, and then in the spring, do bowl games as your spring game.
Either that or just to make it universal, because the year the coach, look, we need to practice. Just add a week on to spring practice.
Yeah.
Just add, give them 5 more practices. It's not going to kill the kids. Yeah. It's just open up another little window.
Well, and that's what it turns into, is getting your red shirts and backups ready for the next year, the guys that are going to start, because your starters are all leaving. So.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Just add an extra week on spring practice. You get the practices.
And if you gave them more in the spring, then you would have your transfers involved. If you pushed it back more to the spring.
It's just that's the way it probably needs to. And by the way, I literally thought of this just now. NCAA, you're welcome. I know Paul.
Yeah, I still like the idea of doing like a bowl game at the end of spring practice.
Oh, I agree with you.
and
It would be,
having the two teams practice together like the NFL does in the preseason, like where they scrimmage each other during the week,
yeah.
and then have them do a bowl game and like make a big deal out of it, do things at night to,
Yeah.
and,
Well,
you
I do. I'm all for like even if you did a home spring game against another team.
yeah,
I think that's a good thing, and you've got enough time to scrimmage in there.
just rotate SEC teams,
Yeah. Well,
conference teams or something.
even if you did like Arkansas and Oklahoma State, or
Yeah,
do Arkansas and Baylor,
Yeah.
somebody like that where the travel's not too bad. But anyway, it's
Well, one last thing as we recap the Kamara interview before we go on is I had one regret of a question I didn't ask.
well, that's the worst when
I
you're
know.
like, I followed up here, I should have followed up there.
We hit on most everything I wanted to hit on, but the one thing I forgot to ask was, Mateos came out after, later on after the portal, was about to close.
Oh yeah,
And he talked about how one of their linemen was getting like a lot of contacts from other teams. And the word was it was Fernando Carmona Jr.
Yeah.
That all these other big teams were coming after hard and saying, hey, leave Arkansas, come to us. Leave Arkansas, come to us. And so I wanted to kind of put him on the spot and ask him if that's who he was talking about. But
you got to skate. You got to skate on a question like that. You got to
pretty much it was, folks. And that's the kind of guy we got. First of all, he's a guy that everybody else was wanting.
Yeah.
And at a time right now when Pittman's getting critiqued about not having any 4-star or 5-star recruits, all of them are 3 stars for the next draft or the next recruiting class. Hey, he's getting some guys like Carmona, who's everybody in the nation's wanting.
Travis, I will say this 100 times again and again. There is nothing more pointless than your high school recruiting class anymore.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing. There's zero things. I it's a transfer portal game now.
Yeah, and I don't think it's pointless necessarily. I think it's
Well, I do.
I think because you still can have guys that'll stay around.
Yeah, but I think if my recruiting budget was $10 million, I would probably put 70% of the portal. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have, because here's the thing is you get these freshmen in now, and they don't get to start right away, so they get spicy and they transfer, or because one of the names, I'm going to just name his name, Marion Harris. I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah.
He's a great player, but he's what, number 7 on the, you got to think the 6th guy on the line is probably Crawford.
Yeah.
And then so Harris is 7, and he's a redshirt junior or sophomore. I don't know. No, he's redshirt sophomore, I believe. And so he's not starting yet. So I'm surprised. Just saying, just calling it what it is. I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah.
Because of that's just the way the game is now. So it's like, do you want to get the second crack at the kid, or do you want to get the first crack at the kid? Because I think you're going to get another crack at these, like the kids from that went to Missouri this year. I was like, yeah, it sucks, but
yeah,
they would have been on down the depth chart a little bit, and you probably would have moved on in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That's my feeling of it. I'm like, you know what? Get around, stay where you are, get around number 30 in recruiting, and just win the portal.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're looking at for this team. So now, Clint, we want to look at what guys, what people, or what do you want to see from this team, or who do you think really needs to step up this year and really be either what we need them to be or expect them to be, or better? And we're gonna Corliss the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because everybody will say that, right? So everybody would say, okay, obviously the quarterback, he needs to lead well and he needs to play well. Okay. Um, but who else do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna name a name, and I want to say I would say our boy Carmona, but I feel like that would be cheating.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Addison Nichols
Okay.
because now typically your center is making a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Off the line, he's making a lot of calls. You kind of need to be the chief of that offensive line.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I want to see him. I want to see him take command of the offensive line. Really, I want to. I want him to. I want to see the entire offensive line take a chip, have a chip on. I hope all them guys have a chip on their shoulders, especially Kudus and Braun.
Mm.
I mean, they
Yeah.
took they took a beating, last year,
Yeah.
and so I want to see redemption. I think the move back inside is going to fit Kudus, but I'm saying Addison Nichols, and the reason I'm saying Addison Nichols is because I think that center position is so important.
Yeah.
I want to see I want to see that nasty, mean Sam Pittman offensive line, and that center can set the tone. They had that in Ricky Stromberg. He had that.
Well, and we saw even, especially during the Chad Morris era, how a center that can't snap very well
Yeah.
hurts a team. A lot of our problems with offensive line in the Chad Morris era was we had centers that were hiking rainbows back to the quarterback. So I agree with you. I think Addison's going to be a uh,
Yeah.
huge one there.
Now,
For my,
who are you thinking, bud?
for my first one on the offensive side, I'm going to say Satania, Isaiah Satania, because with his speed and from what I'm hearing, he's got great hands, and he's the type of player that I heard DJ Williams talking on the Buzz about him. He said that Petrino will use him like Joe Adams.
Well,
He's
and
going to
one
get
of
him in
the
a lot of
things,
crossing routes because of his speed.
yeah,
And he said, and he's like Joe Adams, except he has better hands than Joe Adams.
yeah, and one of the things. Sorry, you're rolling, and I'm trying to get a word in edgewise.
Yeah.
Edgewise, I can't talk. But no, one of the complaints you heard about the receivers, no, they didn't have time to get a lot of separation, but there wasn't separation.
Mm-hmm.
When you have somebody with game-changing speed like Santanga, you can see your Armstrongs and your Teslas getting a little bit more open, and then the talent here's the thing, and this is the talent's there.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like if Taylon Green's at least above average, I think they're going to have a decent chance to win some football games next year.
I'll tell you who else Satanga can help out a lot. It's Luke Has.
Yeah, and Luke Has and Ty Washington. I think that tight end room is
Mm-hmm.
that tight end room may be. I mean, you talk about the running back room being good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some NFL talent in the tight end. I think that tight end room is loaded. And I thought taking Luke Haas would be the easy way out.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying Luke Haas. I'm saying Satanga. I mean, Luke Haas, I think is going to be great. But I think Satanga I'm telling you, Petrino made a living with Jarius Wright and Joe Adams on crossing routes. He's always done that. Those are the hardest routes to defend because a defensive back, if you're in man defense, you got to stay with the guy as he runs across the field. It's an easy throw for the quarterback. And then against the zone, it's hard to defend also because in one route, a guy's crossing through 3 or 4 zones, depending on how the defense is lined up and what kind of coverage they're in. So he's going to be breaking down some teams, and it's going to get him wide open, and it's going to be a high percentage throws because They're right in the middle of the field for Green to hit him. And they're the shortest throws a lot of times because they're not out on the other side of the hash marks, like an out route or something like that. So I think Satanga. Who's your next one?
All right, so we're going defense. And I tell you, when you was talking about Muss Malone, the guy that's taking a beating on Facebook, on your message boards, a guy that's been through it, Hudson Clark.
Yeah, yeah.
He is the elder statesman. I'm sitting there doing the math in my head, so I think he's a super senior this year.
Yeah.
And he started off as walk on. He grew up wanting to be a Razorback.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I mean, you hear all the time, like, number 17, he shouldn't be on the field. He can't cover nobody. Hudson Clark's an all-conference safety.
Yeah.
I ain't saying he's going to go to I ain't saying he's going to the NFL, anything like that. But he's an all-conference. He is a serviceable SEC safety.
Mm-hmm.
He is really good. And you know, the secondary was much improved last year. And he's such a utility guy. He can go help you out at corner. He can go help you out at safety. He can play, they call it the hog position or whatever. He can go all around the field.
Yeah.
He's such a serviceable guy, and he's been there, and he knows what to stand. He knows what it was like when the team's really good. And he remembers the Chad Morris era.
Yeah.
So, because he was there for the first year of that, because I believe he came in Morris's first year and then redshirted and played his first game under Pittman.
Yeah.
And had a memorable run. So that's my answer.
Well, and I'm with you on him. I think he has a chance this year, especially as an elder statesman. Think Zach Painter. Remember Zach Painter?
Where's Zach Painter?
Zach Painter was a guy that got a lot of playing time under Nutt, but everybody complained about him.
Yeah.
Because he'd get beat. He was, they'd put him at corner. They tried him at safety some, but then they played him in the slot in that 4-4, or under Danny Ford, he had done that. Sorry. Then Nutt comes in, puts him in the right position, and he ends up becoming everybody's favorite defender that year. Okay. I think Clark has a chance to redeem himself kind of like that.
He had a good year. He had a good year last year. It was the year before when they were, the secondary was so bad.
Now, my next one's on defense also. And it's a guy that's getting a lot of talk. When you hear a lot of the experts or whatever, they're talking about him a lot, but he's a guy that really we've just saw flashes of last year, but everybody thinks is going to be a key player this year, and that's Brad Spence at linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, there's talk about him. Who was the transfer from Alabama that's now
Story? Matter of fact, that's what I was trying to look as.
No, the one that's at Denver now. He was a defensive end. They moved him to linebacker. Drew Sanders. Yeah. A lot of people are comparing him to him. Okay, as far as being able to rush the passer and play the pass, stuff like that. And so we need a guy like that, especially at linebacker. He's 6'2", 240. He's a sophomore, a true sophomore. We need a guy like him to step up in that linebacker room.
It is crazy to hear because we did have a 5-star transfer, Xavion Story.
Yeah.
And I almost mentioned him. And then I thought about Cam Ball too. Two guys I thought of that I wanted to see because you heard, Carmona talked about what a combination Cam Ball and Landon Jackson are, and it's going to be hard to handle. And but you hear just like them, like a calm about the linebacker room. Mm-hmm. It's like we're not worried. I mean, you don't sense a lot of worry with the team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, this is where this has to fall right. There seems to be a calmness
Yeah.
about who they are. I mean, fans are being fans. They're thinking that Bobby Petrino was brought here as a shadow agent to undermine Seth Pittman and take the team back to their glory of 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is why I'm not hosting Drive Time Sports. I call these people idiots and hang up on
Yeah.
them. But I think this team's going to be a lot better, and even after Tom Carmona, I just felt better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yep.
any sense? Like I felt good about where the team is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you the last one for me, and I think you would say this too, and everyone would say this. And it's not a player. It's Petrino.
well, you know what's funny is I was actually going to say Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
So you explain yours, and then I'll explain mine.
Well, and the reason I say that is, and I thought about this yesterday. I was listening to on the Buzz. They were having they were at a golf tournament or something, and Cliff and Matt Harris were there. Matt Harris, who played for Petrino, was there, and I kind of gathered Matt Harris isn't a huge fan of Petrino. But he said, "Look," he said, Petrino is a great offensive guy. However, his offense did not work at A&M. Now, I know people say it's because of him and Jimbo, but he said a lot of things have changed in upper level Division I football since his offense was a really good one. And so he said, so he's just anxious to see if time has caught up with him or if he's been willing to change, if he's going to be willing to change with the times. And that's the first time I'd heard that mentioned. Okay. I think he is. I think he's a smart enough guy. He's been doing it long enough. I have a good feeling about the offense. And I think there's some things that are going to work against no matter what the defenses are doing to you. However, I want to see it. I want to see him work well in that with Pittman, work well as the second chair on a team, work well as he deals with the players and deals with his other coaches. And I can see why. I probably guess on what you're going to say with Pittman, but I think definitely I'm going to be watching Petrino and need him to step up.
No, and the reason I said Sam Pittman is because, he had the COVID year, had the Outback Bowl year, then he had the Liberty Bowl year, then he had last year. This is discipline year. Now we've all, man, in life, I know I've fallen flat on my face and I've stumbled, I've fallen before, and I have to look at myself and like, all right, I failed at that.
Mm-hmm.
How now what makes a man is how he responds to failure.
Yeah.
And so last year, Sam Pittman not happy with 4-8. I know he wasn't happy with the Liberty Bowl year either, but that was obviously, I think, KJ Jefferson being out and weakened. Yeah. I think you're a healthy KJ Jefferson from being at least 8-4.
Yeah.
I stand by that. 9-3 at worst. I mean, 9-3 at best, 8-4 at worst with KJ healthy. Mm. Is what it is. He wasn't healthy. That's the Arkansas they played that day, and that's the Arkansas they beat that day.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, how do I respond? And Sam Pittman, I think, is really – that's when you're talking about him being the highest paid GA in the country. He's down there with the offensive line. He's like, I'm not losing this job, my dream job, over this. But here's the thing. Sam Pittman's been a head coach long enough now. If he would have coached those first 4 years at Tulsa, and we brought him in, we're bringing in an experienced head coach. He is no longer a rookie head coach. He is an experienced. This is his 5th head coaching year, 4th if you don't count the COVID year. I don't think you judge him by that 3-7 on his overall record because of who we played.
No, but he was still coaching.
Yeah. He was still coaching. So this is his 5th season as a head football coach. So I'm interested to see what he does because he is now an experienced head coach. I want to see him do better with the decisions. We're like, You don't want to hear him going in the press conference going, to be honest with you, I just didn't know what to do and I ran out of time.
Yeah.
Being clear and concise with your decisions, and don't be scared of making the wrong one, because you know what? At some point, you're gonna make the wrong one.
Yeah.
And
Gotta be
people are
decisive.
calling drive time sports, and they're gonna want you fired because you made the wrong decision. But you know what? You had to make one, and you picked one, and you stood by it.
No, I'm with you, Clint. He did not represent himself well last year as a head coach.
Yeah.
I think his flaws as the head guy were a lot more obvious last year than they were in previous years. Now, was that because he didn't have a sounding board like Odom? And does having a sounding board like Petrino help him this year? I think it probably does. And I think if he learned from the lessons from last year, it does. But I think you're right. That's something we need to watch out for.
No, and I think, and I do think, like, hey, man, it's you now. Like, there's no excuses. I don't think I believe him when I say he wasn't against the Petrino hire. This isn't.
Yeah. No, I think
this isn't Gus Malzahn becoming the offensive coordinator under Houston Nutt.
No,
Houston
it's not.
An offensive coordinator to begin with. I know we all Arkansas fans, we're still, traumatized from that.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is that. I think it's in both their best interest for it to work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Arkansas fans that think Bobby Petrino's best chance to be a head coach against for Sam Pittman to be fired. I can't disagree more. His best chance to be a head coach again is for Sam Pittman to be successful and get hired away by a program. Yeah. That's his best chance.
Yeah. Well, changing roads here. A team with the ugly orange color won the college baseball championship.
Yeah, congratulations to Tennessee.
Tennessee won it.
It's hard to win from the number one spot. They even lost the first game of the finals and had to win 2 in a row to win it. And A&M, they staged a good comeback, and I think we're at the end of A&M being a baseball power because they just lost their coach to and
embarrassing.
All their good players hit the portal.
Yeah. Wasn't that embarrassing? The coach, he got asked at the post-game press conference, and he told that reporter, "That's selfish of you to ask me that," because he asked him about, there's rumors, the job opening, and he was like, "When I came to A&M, I came to be here. I moved my family here, and I came to be here forever." And then the athletic director for A&M put out the press release, said, "When we landed back at College Station, he told me that he was leaving."
Yeah.
And so, like, he already knew in that press conference he was leaving, but he tried to show out that reporter. I lost some respect for him there. Of course, I didn't know the guy.
Yeah, but I want to say this about Tony Vitello, because I know we're coming to the end here. But here's the thing. He gave Dave Van Horn a lot of credit.
Yep.
But also, let's talk about what a job Tony Vitello's done at Tennessee.
Yeah.
He learned a lot from Dave Van Horn.
He called Van Horn the greatest coach in the country.
And I agree with him. I hope before it's all said and done, he's not the greatest coach to never win a national championship.
Yeah.
I hope he gets one, because Dave Van Horn deserves to win a national championship for just, if nothing else, his longevity in the game and what he's meant to the game. But Tennessee's baseball program, when he got there, was non-existent. Like, you could literally go to the games and count the fans in the stand.
Yeah.
It was an afterthought, and he's made it relevant. He's taken the lessons he's learned from Dave Van Horn. You heard Jordan talk about Van Horn when he got to Arkansas. Was like, "No, we need press boxes over there. We got this." And came in and said, "No, we've got to pump some money into it." And Arkansas was like, "Okay." And so I think Vitello's taken lessons he's learned from Dave Van Horn and translated to Tennessee, and now they are your national champions of baseball. So, congratulations.
Congrats for sure.
I was hoping both you and A&M would both lose, but I didn't.
That's right. Couldn't happen. So, well, folks, thank you so much. Now, one more thing we got to throw in here, Clint.
Yeah.
Next week, more than likely, unless creek rises or something, whatever that saying
Yeah,
goes.
something happens, but tentatively scheduled. This has been
you're gonna
big,
you're gonna
yeah.
see a rebranding
Yeah,
of
rebrand
this podcast. Okay, when we started the podcast, Clint, we were thinking we wanted to be like a morning talk show.
Yeah, 100%. Like
So
talk a
we'll
little
just talk
politics.
about a little bit of everything, try to be funny, talk some sports, that kind of thing. We've kind of settled into where we're talking mostly Razorback stuff. Now that doesn't change. We end up talking other stuff sometimes too, and we want to keep talking other stuff sometimes. But we decided to, with the name Big C Bigger T podcast, it really doesn't give you an idea of what we're about. Also, when people search for it, you don't know what you're really searching for, and it's harder. We found when we tell people, like I was telling someone today, they said, "Now, what's the name of your podcast?" I said, "The Big C and Bigger T." They're probably not going to remember that real easy. Okay, so we're going to go with Hog Slop
With Big C and Bigger T.
with Big C and Bigger T. So I think it's a good name change. We got a new logo we're gonna put out there too. That looks really.
I liked
good.
it as is, but Travis did not approve it.
We'll talk about that more next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. But seriously, folks. So with that, man, this is a great time, folks. We need you. We need your help. Okay. We want to see. We've been doing this a long time, and we would love to see this thing grow. And that's where we need these likes, shares, and comments. Okay. I know you get tired of hearing that on podcasts, and you get tired of hearing it from us. But the truth of the matter is, it makes these things grow. It makes them better. And so please like, share, comment. With that, we can get more sponsors. With that, we can get, and with more sponsors, that means we can do more interviews. Because those interviews cost us every time we do them. And so the more we do that, the more we can reach out, the more interviews we can do, and things like that. And the more access we can have within the Razorback programs. And so, man, if you believe in this, you enjoy it, you like it, then, when we put it out there on social media, share that. Okay. Share the link. Just all it takes is a few seconds. Hit the share button on Facebook or on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever, and let other people know. And anyway, folks, that's another podcast. Next week, look for things a little different. Say hi to the donkeys, the Razorback, and how about see you later, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Tom Michelle. Peace.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no